My name is Tove Jensen. I'm representing the Initiative for Peace in Denmark. And we are different political groups. And in February 2021, we held a meeting with the purpose making campaign against a new agreement between NATO and the Danish government. The agreement which would give us this bilateral base, I don't know, but I would be a good speaker in Danish. We held in 2021 the first demonstration at the American embassy protesting against the worldwide US aggression with the recently ending of the war in Afghanistan. Ja, den er faktisk lidt i vejen for mig. Jeg kan heller ikke se min tekst. Kan du trække en lille smule den vej? Could you draw that? Yeah. I will start again. We held our first demonstration at the American embassy protesting against the worldwide US aggression with the recently ending of the war in Afghanistan. Earlier, the war in Iraq, Libya, and their role in the deadly conflict in Palestine and against the Danish willingly taking part in all these wars and conflicts transcending human rights. Just some days later, the Russian government started an invasion, a war in Ukraine. We all became horrified and lost confidence in the system of cooperation that was supposed to prevent a war between the West and Russia. For example, the Partnership for Peace and, of course, UN Charter. And this Partnership for Peace, we didn't know at all what it meant. But looking around and reading a lot of books in that time, we saw that this Partnership for Peace was the master's job for our minister and the NATO secretary, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, which have been the master behind forming the former NATO to a worldwide partnership, which were in Europe, in the northern, in Arctic, thank you very much, and in the Pacific and everywhere. And if you look at cards, there is around the world, all over the world, these bases where US could jump from one another, called this base imperium. Many discussions later, many demonstrations later, and many protests later, we have a better survey and better understanding of what was going on in both Danish politics and the NATO organizations. We have always in my organization been an opponent to NATO, but we haven't followed this development to this worldwide base imperium. Now we put in focus on the base empire, its expansion and its central function in the great struggle for dominating world power. And that's the perspective we have when we look out in the world just now, looking for peace. And now I'm going on to talk about our actual focus in this peace initiative, and which are a part of the peace movement in Denmark. We are working together. I don't see any quarrels or unfriendly talking about the peace movement in Denmark. We are agreeing to work together, and it's a very large step. And we, in our initiative, which I came from, have decided to put focus on this campaign called No to US Bases, No to Foreign Troops on Danish soil. Right now, secret negotiations are taking place between the Danish and US governments on a bilateral defense agreement. The negotiations already started more than 2 years ago, and it will make it possible for American troops and bases to arrive on Danish soil. The public is kept in the dark about the negotiations, and there will be no question of an opinion of the matter from the people. The national-wide umbrella network Peace Initiative therefore calls on the Danish population to protest against the base agreement with the United States, which would be an attack on Danish sovereignty, and we will do it with this campaign, No to American Bases. The campaign is unfolding through the diverse activities of peace groups throughout the country and through information about the consequences of this agreement. Our Prime Minister, or President, I don't know, Mette Frederiksen already told the press conference in January last year that the purpose is for the United States to have an even better opportunity to be present here in Europe than today, than 1 year ago. A base agreement with the United States will mean that the American forces will have exclusive rights to Danish territory, where war material can be stored, all these things you know, but I mention it all, just without the possibility of Danish control. In addition, US soldiers stationed there will have the right to use force against civilians. Based on the agreements we already have with NATO, US soldiers will not be prosecuted in Danish courts for crimes committed in Denmark. With this agreement, we will not be able to prevent the United States from storing nuclear weapons in our country, for a short or longer period. The United States claim a right that means it never discloses where it stores nuclear weapons on its planes, ships, and bases. Denmark will therefore never be able to be sure that nuclear weapons are not stored. We know it. We know the story from Greenland. We asked, we have atom weapons, nuclear weapons, and we didn't get an answer. And yes, they had. And we are fearing that development in this case too. Our neighbor Norway, which are present here, has just entered into a base agreement with the United States, which means that the United States would have unrestricted access to four land areas in Norway. Here they can arrange barracks, hangars, and port areas as they wish. They can evade any control of these areas by the Norwegian authority, including prosecution in connection with war crimes, and further on. The same secrecy which was in Norway is happening now here in Denmark. Stop this assault on Danish sovereignty. Proponents of the campaigns are Peace Initiative, which I represent, Peace Cooperation in Denmark, Time for Peace, No to Nuclear Weapons, I Can End Denmark, No to Rearmament, Yes to Sustainable Security Policy, which Steen is representing, Ministry of Peace, which are here, Never More War, the Peace Guard, and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. You can hear we are representing many groups which have worked many years for peace. And we have decided to make this campaign because we think that common people in Denmark don't want foreign troops on Danish soil. And all these groups and movements are continuing their work and we are working together for peace with other main foci, as simple as stop the war, ceasefire now, and the fight against nuclear weapons. So what I'm saying here is that we have this focus, but we are working together with groups which have other focus. But it doesn't disturb the work. You can do what you mean to be necessary in your group. But we are working together, so we are coming all around the spectrum. And this campaign will go on until November this year, where we expect the negotiations have ended and the agreement will be published. In the meantime, we will be in the street picture with our posters and leaflets, talking to people about the result of the base agreement, the massive rearmament. I'm talking about the NATO alliance invading the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea as a sea of peace for 9 nations that have coast here. It's no longer a sea for peace, but we feel a US-dominated aggressive ground for the US expiring base imperium going on. And that was the word, but I want to say something more in English and what I can find out. I will say that we have a problem with peace movements because we have a Cold War syndrome and we have used a lot of our efforts to discuss this and get it on place, get it loaded, get it on the shelf, and that don't interest young people. That's our heritage. Heritage, I don't know the word. But I'm saying that because I have just come from the Red summer camp, and there we were discussing, where are all the people on 30, 40, 50, we are all nearly 70 years old, and I said, which I did further, luckily, because it's a good thing that we're here. But we have this heritage, and we have to discuss when we want to do something about the earth, peace in world, peace for world. What did you say?
Peace with earth and peace on earth.
Yeah. If we want to use, I have to take my time, it's very short now. If we want to use to participate, we have to make that focus and know that all our interest about the war in Ukraine, we didn't have it about Afghanistan, we didn't have it in Africa, we didn't have it in many other places. So it's our heritage that we have this Cold War syndrome.